Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is September 5th. We had a week full of spicy interactions across the board. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? We've got a good one for you here. Lots of intense moments coming from the week here. It makes sense. We know time is ticking. Things are running down. Football season has started, so a lot of good things in the sports world. But of course, we talk baseball here. And with that being said, let's jump right into our series recap. Going back to last weekend, Angels and Astros wrap up a 4-game set. Luis Garcia back on the mound for the Astros. He goes 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 Ks. He gets the win as Ramon Urias and Jose Altuve homer. They split the 2-game set. Astros and Angels do 8-3 Astros in that last game. But on to this week, Mariners and Rays. Nick Fortes, Tristan Gray, they homer for the Rays. 10-2 win there. Junior Caminero has himself a game as he hits his 40th home run of the season, the second Ray to hit 40 home runs in their franchise's history. That tied the game. He hits a 2-run double later on for the lead. 6-5 Rays get the win. And then they come back. They score 4 in the first, 4 more in the second for a 9-4 Rays win as they sweep the Mariners. Guardians and Red Sox. Trevor Story hits one of the strangest home runs you'll ever see. That was a home run in 0 out of 30 ballparks. Part of a 6-4 Red Sox win. The Guardians hit 4 homers in Game 2, but Nathaniel Lau, Sabine Rafaela, they homer for the Red Sox, an 11-7 victory there. But the Guardians get the last laugh. Gabriel Arias gets a home run as the Guardians score 6 times in the second, part of an 8-1 win to avoid the sweep against the Red Sox. Mets and Tigers. Soto hits a grand slam and gets a triple in this game. 6 RBIs, part of a 10-8 Mets win. The Mets go home run hitters in Game 2. Alonso a 2-homer game. Luis Torrens, Soto, they all go deep. 12-5 New York, but in the last game, Kerry Carpenter, his 23rd homer of the season, puts this game out of reach as the Tigers avoid the sweep with a 6-2 win against the Mets. White Sox and Twins in a 4-game series, and how about the Chicago White Sox this series? Montgomery, Maedroff, they both go deep as the rookies help the White Sox to a 6-5 win in the opener. Andrew Benintendi, a 2-homer game. Kyle Teel, Lenyon Sosa, they all homer in a 12-3 White Sox win. The White Sox then come back and they score 3 runs in the 9th to get a comeback win. Michael A. Taylor, a go-ahead 2-run double for a 4-3 White Sox win. And they finish it off with an 11-8 win. Kyle Teel homers again. Montgomery homers again. The rookies handling business in Minnesota. The White Sox 4-game sweep. First time in their franchise's history. How about that? Angels and Royals. Joe Adell, what a series he had. Hit his 32nd homer in a 5-1 victory in Game 1. Hit a go-ahead 3-run homer and had all 4 of the RBIs for the Angels that game. 4-3. Joe Adell popping off this series, but Royals get the last laugh. Luis Rengifo hit a 3-run homer for the Angels in the first. Adam Frazier, a solo shot. Vinny Pasquantino, a solo shot. Salvador Perez, a solo shot that ties the game. And then Bobby Witt, late in this one, a solo shot for the comeback win. 4-3 Royals avoid the sweep. The big one here, Yankees and Astros. Grisham stays grand. Another grand slam this season. Are you kidding me, Trent? Jazz Chisholm, a 2-homer game, part of a 7-1 Yankees win. The Astros come back in Game 2. Pena gets a homer. The Astros score 4 in the 8th for the lead. Bellinger hit a 3-run shot in the 9th that made it close, but the Astros edged this one out 8-7. And in the rubber match, McMahon goes deep. And how about Trent Grisham going deep as well? His first time in his career that he has 30 homers in a season. 8-4 Yankees. They take 2 of 3 from the Astros. Marlins and Nationals. The Nationals take a 2-0 victory in the opener. James Wood hits his 27th homer in Game 2 for a 5-2 win. And the Nationals get the sweep 10-5 as Nazman Nunez hits his first and second career homers in a game. That's the 4th time this season a player has hit their first and second career homers in a game in the same game. The Nationals sweep the Marlins 10-5 that last game. Braves and Cubs now. Ian Happ homers. Carson Kelly, he hits a homer to tie the game up in the 8th. We go to extras where it's Kelly who walks it off with a single. 7-6 Cubs. They get a very important win, followed up by another one as Kyle Tucker hits his 22nd homer of the season, part of a 4-3 win there. But the Braves avoid the sweep. Ha-Seong Kim, Albies, they both homer for the Braves. Ha-Seong Kim, it's the first Braves shortstop homer this season. Are you kidding me? 5-1 Atlanta. They avoid the sweep to the Cubs. Phillies and Brewers, another big series this past week. Bryce Terang, Durbin, they go deep for the Brewers. Harper goes deep for the Phillies. The back and forther, and the Phillies take this one 10-8. The Brewers would even up the series as Isaac Collins gets a home run to cap off a 5-run first, part of a 6-3 Brewers win. And in the rubber match pitchers duel between Suarez and Peralta, Turner gets the RBI single in the 7th to break this scoreless game, part of a 2-0 Phillies win as they take 2 of 3 from the Brewers. A's and Cardinals, JJ Bleday, Zach Geloff, they go back-to-back in this one. Bleday has a 2-homer game, part of an 11-3 A's win, but that would be the only A's win in the series. Ivan Herrera gets a 2-run homer in Game 2, part of a 2-1 Cardinals win. And in the last game, Wilson Contreras with an RBI triple. Nolan Gorman goes deep. 5-1 Cardinals. They take 2 of 3 against the A's. Blue Jays and Reds played a very offensive-heavy series. It starts in the first game with Bichette and Varsho going back-to-back for the lead in the 9th. The Jays would have pulled this one out of a hat had it not been for the Reds. Come back in the 9th inning. Noelvi Marte, a 2-run single, walks off the Blue Jays. The Reds take a 5-4 victory, but then the Blue Jays go home run happy. George Springer hits a 2-homer game in the second game. Bo goes deep. Varsho goes deep. It's a 12-9 Blue Jays win. They follow that up as they fall down 5 runs in the third game. Springer homers. Varsho and Kirk, they go back-to-back. Barger and Vladdy, they go back-to-back later on. That would tie it and give the Blue Jays the lead as the Blue Jays score in 7 of the 9 innings. They don't score in the first, they don't score in the second, and then scored at least 1 run in each inning from the 3rd inning to the 9th. They take a 13-9 victory and take 2 of 3 from the Reds. Dodgers and Pirates, it's a 4-run first for the Pirates. The Dodgers kept coming, but the Pirates held off, part of a 9-7 victory in the opener. Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutcheon, they both homer in a 3-0 Pirates win. And the Pirates, they finish it off by scoring 4 runs in the 5th inning, a 5-3 victory as they sweep the Dodgers. That's huge. Giants and Rockies, Devers goes deep, Gilbert goes deep, Adames goes deep, 8-2 Giants in the opener. Game 2, Devers hits his 30th homer of the season, which causes some tempers to flare in Coors. Schmidt would also homer, Flores would also homer, Bailey also homers, 7-4 Giants, and they finish off the suite as Matt Chapman has a 2-homer game the day he finds out about his suspension. Want to talk about that. 10-8 Giants as they get the sweep against Colorado. Rangers and D-backs, Cody Freeman homers, Wyatt Langford homers. This one goes into extras where 2 runs score in the 10th on an Osuna single, part of a 7-5 Rangers win. Ketel Marte hits a 3-run go-ahead home run in the 7th to give the D-backs the lead, part of a 5-3 victory. And in the last game, Zach Gallen, a good outing for him as he and the D-backs pitchers blank the Rangers, 2-0 the final. They take 2 of 3 from Texas. And we finish it off with the Oilers and the Padres. A huge opportunity for the Padres with the Dodgers getting swept. And the Padres got swept. Jeremiah Jackson homers twice in the series. A 4-3 Baltimore win, a 6-2 Baltimore win. And in the last game, Jackson Holiday homers. And then Baltimore goes back to back in the third. It's Cowser, it's Mayo, it's Jackson. 7-5 Baltimore. The Padres get swept. And that's your series recap. All right, now game of the week. We're going to Milwaukee for game 1 between the Phillies and the Brewers. First in the NL East, first in the NL Central. first and second in the NL as a whole. Bottom first, Bryce Terang goes deep. His 17th homer on the year puts the Brewers up 1-0, but it doesn't end there because Blake Perkins later in the inning gets a 2-run double as the Brewers take a 3-0 lead. Caleb Durbin hits his 10th homer of the season to make it 4-0 in the bottom of the second. The Phillies get on the board on top of the fourth. Bryce Harper hits his 23rd homer of the season to get the Phillies up and down 3. But bottom 4, Brewers get the run right back. Jackson Chourio sac fly. It's 5-1. Top 5, Phillies making more noise. Trace Turner, an RBI single, 2 RBI triple. Not sure where the single came into play there. A 2 RBI triple puts the Phillies within 2. And then Harrison Bader gets an RBI double in the top of the 6th. That made it 5-4. In the 6th inning, still Max Kepler, a sac fly, tied the game up 5-5. And then Edmundo Sosa sac fly put the Phillies up 6-5 through 6. Just kidding. Bottom 6, Jackson Chourio reaches on an error, which allows Durbin to score. So after 6 innings, we are tied 6-6. Brewers once led by 4. Top 8, the Phillies take the lead. Harrison Bader drives in another on an RBI double. Bryson Stott would drive in Bader on an RBI double. The Phillies take an 8-6 lead, but the Brewers get those runs right back. Isaac Collins, a 2-run single, ties his game back up at 8-8. We go top 9. Brandon Marsh comes up clutch in this game. He was 4 for 4, and he gets the RBI single to put the Phillies up. They add in another on a Harrison Bader single. 2 more runs score. It's 10-8. That's the final. The Phillies come back from down 4 to win it 10-8 and get a game on the best team in baseball. That is your game of the week here. Let's jump into the baseball news, and let's start by taking you to Colorado for the Giants and the Rockies because things got chippy in the second game. Devers homers off of Freeland in the first inning and stares at it for a little bit too long for Freeland's liking. Of course, the Rockies, not a good team. Freeland, not a good year for him. He's given up lots of home runs, but took exception to this one. They start arguing while he was mid-home run trot. The bench is clear. Some pushing, some shoving, a little bit more aggressive than some of the bench clearings we had seen this season. When it comes to suspensions, Matt Chapman was the only guy that was handed a 1-game suspension. He came in hard, pushed Freeland really hard, and got that 1-game suspension there. But when he found out about it, the game was already going on, I believe, or at least it was about to start on the Wednesday, and that's when he popped 2 homers to complete the sweep against the Rockies. So good for Chapman getting in the mix of things and helping the Giants out here because the race is not over when in the NL Wildcard even because the Giants, they were top team. We're like, oh, here comes the Giants. All of a sudden, they're 9-1 in their last 10 on a 4-game winning streak and are now 4 games out of the wild card. They've passed the Reds and are now the team that's chasing New York. But 4 games is a lot. But hey, when you're 9-1 in your last 10, you're hot right now. If the Giants keep it rolling, maybe they'll find a way to still sneak their way back into the postseason. Moving on here, let's talk about Framber Valdez here because the situation there was very interesting between him and his catcher that day, Cesar Salazar. Of course, Valdez was pitching in Game 1 of the Astros and Yankees series. Of course, Grisham gets another grand slam, his 4th grand slam of the season, I believe, or 5th even. He's been getting a lot of those. When you watch that back, before Valdez threw the pitch to Grisham, which resulted in the grand slam, the catcher Salazar was telling him to back off, kind of like shoving him, like, oh, no, like, let's rethink here for a second. He doesn't, throws the pitch, Grisham crushes it, it turns into a 6-1 game. The next batter, Anthony Volpe, comes up, and the pitch that Valdez throws crosses up Salazar. I think Salazar was expecting some off-speed, kind of middle in, lower in on Volpe. Ends up being a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. I believe it's 93-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, crosses him up and hits him in the chest. The ball goes flying from that point on. And it's a little weird situation. Salazar is looking at him kind of like, what the heck? Volpe is looking like, what Did I just kind of step into the box and are you guys going through something? And as soon as Valdez threw the pitch, hits off of Salazar, he just kind of turns around and like looks back, back to the batter's eye there. It's definitely a weird situation. There was obviously some discussion that went on internally between manager Joe Espadra as well as the two players. Valdez came out saying that, it was a simple cross-up and there was no intent. But it doesn't seem like that. It does seem like something was fishy. It seemed like Valdez was upset. We've seen him get upset in tempers and stuff when he gives up home runs and stuff. He has, moments of aggression, I guess you would say. The reason why I think that it was intentional is because usually when a cross-up happens between a pitcher and a catcher, the pitcher is usually looking at the catcher like, hey, are you okay? Like they'll put like their glove up or something like, hey, whatever. And then the catcher will go over and they'll talk it out because obviously there was a mistake in the signs or something happened with the pitch calm. It's not something that's like, if it really is unintentional, you want to work through it because you want to get crossed up again. But Valdez, as soon as he threw the pitch, immediately turned around, didn't even look at him, didn't even face him. Salazar was like, "What? What was that?" Because obviously, I guess he called for an off-speed pitch. Probably he probably shook his head, saying, "Yeah, okay, let's throw the changeup, let's throw the curve, like whatever the off-speed was," and then threw 93 miles an hour, and the fastball down the middle, and Volpe just kind of took it. Volpe was kind of confused. Like it's just a weird situation as a whole. Something to keep interested of because obviously Valdez is a free agent at the end of the season, and some teams might not want a guy who, because that's a scary thing, that could lead to injuries. That could lead to something like, that's not the best look for Valdez here. And if it was intentional, I mean, like that's just something that can't happen. If it was unintentional, the way he went about it, I felt was not disrespectful, but it definitely wasn't handled in the best way. And that's how it's blown up into the story that it is now. And that's why we're talking about it. So that's the situation there. Need to mention that the White Sox, a 4-game sweep against the Twins. Are you kidding me, guys? That's fantastic. The first time in their franchise's history that they were able to do that. 5-game winning streak for them. However, when we last left on the Friday episode, we talked about the losing magic number. The White Sox losing magic number was 1. Well, they did their part by winning all 4 games. However, and I said last week and I meant Monday because I realized today is Friday. However, not only do they have to win all the games, that means other teams like the Mariners and the Red Sox and, had to lose all their games, in which that did not happen. So the White Sox have unfortunately been eliminated from the 2025 postseason this year. Despite that, I mean, it's still a much better year than it was in 2024. They're not going to become the worst losing team again. They've had a much better season. And I mean, some of the prospects and some of the rookies that have come up and contributed. Kyle Teal has been a phenomenal catcher behind the dish for the White Sox. He's had a couple of clutch home runs. Colson Montgomery is really becoming the next best thing in Chicago right now for the White Sox. He's turned his season around, or at least helped the White Sox kind of turn their season around. He's been phenomenal and has had lots of home runs. Chase Mydroth, like a lot of the rookies have been performing very well. So although, the White Sox are still last in the AL by about 10 games or so, still a much better season for them and something that, obviously it's, you don't want to like keep your head up about it and be like, yeah, this was a good season, because it wasn't, but it was better than last year. And that's kind of the big key takeaway. Moving on, the Yankees and Astros. We went back there for a little bit here because the Yankees had an issue with one of the umpires, specifically Brian Walsh. These two, Brian Walsh and the Yankees were going at it kind of all series long. It started in the second game of this series with him behind home plate. Some of the calls just weren't going their way. Lots of moments that kind of had Boone frustrated. He was ejected in this game. Devin Williams wasn't happy after giving up the 4 runs in the 8th to give the Astros the lead. He was ejected. And then the pitch to end the game, bases loaded for the Yankees, down by 1. They really could have come back. And Jazz was called out on a curveball that was outside the zone by maybe an inch or so. Obviously, he was upset, and if the game was continuing, he probably would have gotten ejected as well. And that continues on in the next game yesterday on Thursday. Ryan McMahon makes a catch in his glove. This time Walsh is at third base, so obviously that's where McMahon is playing. Makes the catch, loses the ball on the transfer, and he calls it that he didn't catch the ball, that it wasn't properly secured, which had Yankees fans kind of going ballistic from what I saw, and rightfully so, because that was the complete wrong call. The four umpires come together, they had a quick talk about it, and then the call stood, which, I mean, goes against everything that we know about, dropping the ball, on the transfer and everything. So, really bad look from Brian Walsh here. Yankees fans went on his Instagram. They found pictures of him wearing Red Sox gear. Saw him at a Dodgers game. So, assuming that he just now hates the Yankees, people have gone off saying he should never umpire a Yankees game and blah, 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 and how bad can you be? And it's a bad look overall, but definitely something very interesting that happened between Walsh, the umpire, and even the umpiring crew in that Houston series, I think, struggled overall. It just wasn't him as well. They had long, lengthy delays for challenges, and they had the bat thing with Taylor Trammell in yesterday's game where his bat was confiscated. Just a really weird umpiring crew and a bad look on Walsh and the Yankees, and they're trying to compete right now. So tough stuff there. Speaking of competing, let's take a look quickly at the Wildcard update here. I know it's not a standings check, it's not a Monday episode, but a lot changes on the week. And when I was looking at the standings earlier, I was quite surprised by how things are starting to shape up. For the longest time, the same 12 teams that have been in the postseason picture have been the 12 teams that have kind of been in this postseason picture. The Jays, the Tigers, the Astros, the Yankees, Red Sox, Mariners in the AL, and then the Brewers, Phillies, Dodgers, Cubs, Padres, Mets in the NL. The Reds, at one point, a game back of the Mets. They're now 5 games back. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're fading a little bit. Meanwhile, the Giants, we mentioned, 9-1 in the last 10, 4-game winning streak. They're going to start chasing the Mets. So there's still, room for a team to throw it away here. But on the AL side, it's a little bit more interesting. The Mariners, golden opportunity against the Rays to get some games up. The Astros lost 2 against the Yankees, and they got swept. They're on a 3-game losing streak now, 4-6 in their last 10. They drop another game to the Astros, and when you look back, the Texas Rangers are 7-3 in their last 10. The Rays, after sweeping the Mariners, are on a 7-game winning streak. They're 8-2 in the last 10. So when you look at the wild card, Seattle holds that 3rd seed. Rangers are a game and a half out. The Royals are 2 games out. The Rays are 2 games out. The Guardians, 3.5 out. So you got 4 teams now kind of on the tail of the Mariners fighting for a 5th spot. Red Sox are 4.5 up on the line, so there's more work to do there. But that 3rd wild card seed is really up in the air, because if the Mariners keep playing 500 baseball, that opens the door for Texas, who's been hot, for the Rays, who have been hot, maybe the Royals, maybe the Guardians. One of these teams gets hot right now in these next 2-3 weeks left. Any one of these 4 teams can overtake Seattle right now. And again, if one of the Yankees or Red Sox or any other team gets cold, there's still time. It's not a lot of time, but there is still time for teams to make some upsets here. For the longest time, it's been the same 12. We've gone over the same playoff predictors for maybe 5 to 6 weeks now. Since the end of July, since the middle of August, really, it's been the same 12. And here we are last month, and it starts to get a little bit interesting. So that's the news there. Also want to mention that the Dodgers signed Andrew Heaney, who was released by the Pirates. The Braves claimed Ha-Seong Kim from the Rays. He contributed against the Cubs, hit a big 3-run homer, the first Braves shortstop to hit a home run this season. So already adding to his new team there. And the Rays, you might be kicking himself, because now they're in a position where they've just won 7 and maybe are fighting for a postseason. So who knows there, but that's the news in the baseball world here. So let's keep it rolling here. Let's talk about the injury updates from the past week. Jason Adams with a huge blow, 15-day IL with a ruptured quad. It was not a good look against Baltimore this week. He is out for the season, and a bit of a blow to that Padres bullpen. Royals take a hit, lose Seth Lugo on the 15-day IL with a strained lower back. Diamondbacks are losing Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for the rest of the season. 10-day IL. He tore his ACL and will miss a good remaining time, especially, well, all of this year, but definitely maybe some of next year as well. Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, he's on the 15-day IL with a sprained elbow. Shelby Miller from the Brewers bullpen, 60-day IL for him with a sprained elbow. He is done for the year. And then Roman Anthony from the Red Sox. This is a big blow for the Red Sox on the 10-day IL with a left oblique strain. Says he could be missing 4 to 6 weeks. And in case you don't know the math there, that could potentially be the rest of the 2025 season for him. If the Red Sox need to get to like the ALCS maybe for a chance for him to come back with the first update here. So definitely a big blow for Boston, who 4.5 up, half a game back of the Yankees. There's some work to do there for Boston, and Roman Anthony's been a huge part in that success. So we'll see if they're able to hold on, losing him for potentially the rest of the season. Moving on now, we have our outstanding performances from the week. Not the craziest list here. Shane Baz from the Rays, 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and 6 Ks. Paul Skeens, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, a walk, and 8 Ks. Max Fried, 7 innings, 4 hits, an earned run, 3 walks, 5 Ks. Cade Horton, 5 innings, no hits, no runs, a walk, and 6 Ks. Bryce Elder, 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, and 6 Ks, no earned runs. Freddie Peralta, 5 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 8 Ks. He's closing in on Brewers franchise history with innings without giving up a run. Ranger Suarez, 6 innings, 6 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. And lastly, Zach Gallen, 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, a walk, and 5 Ks. That brings us now to our stat leaderboard. See, mostly everything is still the same, of course. Numbers slightly changed. Aaron Judge average drops by 1 to 3 from 323 to 322. Bichette still leads in hits, 177. Raleigh in home runs at 51. Schwarber in RBIs at 119. Shohei in runs at 125. Soto's in walks at 115. Jose Caballero stolen bases, 42. Aaron Judge OPS 1.105. For pitching stats, Freddie Peralta still leads in the wins, now at 16. Paul Skeens' ERA drops about 8 points. He's now a sub-2 ERA for Paul Skeens, 1.98. Garrett Crochet still leads in strikeouts with 218. And no longer is it a tie between Robert Suarez and Carlos Estevez. It is now just Carlos Estevez. The first time this season leads the league in saves, 37 saves. He is going to need to be everything and more for the Royals as they chase down in the AL Wild Card. And let's move on now to the upcoming series from the week. And we have some great baseball ahead. The Dodgers are in town to take on Baltimore. The Orioles swept the Padres. Can they sweep the Dodgers? A big one here, Blue Jays and Yankees in New York with the AL East division potentially on the line there. Guardians and Rays will play a 4-game series. Both of these teams chasing down in the wild card right now. White Sox at Tigers, Twins at Royals, Astros at Rangers. Could be very eventful if Texas can sweep or take 2 of 3. A's and Angels, Mariners at Braves. Good chance for the Mariners to get back in the win column now. Phillies at Marlins, Nationals at Cubs, Mets at Reds. If the Reds sweep, that kind of puts them back in the mix for the NL wild card there. So big series there. Brewers at Pirates, Giants at Cardinals. Can the Giants keep their win streak alive? Padres a chance against the Rockies. Can they get some wins on the board? And then the Red Sox are in Arizona to take on the D-backs. Well, they have to watch to see what happens in that Blue Jays-Yankees series, because that's going to be a huge series. So huge that it's actually our series highlight for the weekend, set here first in the AL East versus second in the AL East. You remember a time as we entered the month of July, the Blue Jays and Yankees. The Yankees had a 3-game lead of the Blue Jays as they began a 4-game set. This was Canada Day weekend. This was July 4th. The Blue Jays swept the Yankees in the 4 games. They went from 3 games back to 1 game up, and from that point on, they were never not in the lead for the AL East. And now the roles are reversed because the Blue Jays are going into New York with a 3-game lead. It's not a 4-game set, it's a 3-game set, so the Yankees cannot take the lead. But the best they can do is sweep the series and tie up the Blue Jays for first in the AL East. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, if they can sweep the Yankees, that 3-game lead turns into a 6-game lead. And meanwhile, Boston will have a chance to stay close here. They're hoping for, potentially the Yankees to take 2 of 3 if they want the division here. But I guess they're hoping for not a sweeper in the series. But I digress. Game 1 Friday today. Kevin Gausman, an 8-10 record, a 3.75 ERA. He's going up against Cam Schlittler from the Yankees, a 2-2 record and a 2.61 ERA. The rookie's been great. Game 2 tomorrow on Saturday. Max Scherzer, 5-2 with a 4.11 ERA, goes up against Luis Hill, 2-1, a 3.68 ERA. Can he continue his great stuff this year? Meanwhile, Sunday's matchup features Chris Bassett, an 11-7 record with a 4.10 ERA, going up against the Yankees ace Max Fried, 15-5, a 2.98 ERA. He was one of the pitchers that pitched in that 4-game set. Springer homered. That was on Canada Day, actually, that he pitched, and Springer homered twice that day, had the grand slam. Blue Jays are hot. They've come off a red series where they almost swept. They kind of blew that first game, but they came back. Springer had 2 homers in game 2. Varsho homered in all 3 games of the series. Bo homered in 2 of the 3. Vlad went deep. Barger went deep. Kirk went deep. Like, the Blue Jays are kind of hot entering Yankee Stadium, a hitter-friendly park here. But the Yankees are also been playing some of the hottest baseball in recent weeks here. So this series is going to be phenomenal. Get your popcorn because the AL East division is definitely on the line here. Moving on now, we've got our magic number segment, our first Friday edition. In the AL for clinches, the Tigers' magic number has been brought down to 12. The Blue Jays are down to 13. Astros at 17. Both the Yankees and Red Sox are at 16. And the Mariners are at 21. Still ways to go for Seattle. On the NL side, the Brewers have the lowest clinching number. It's at 7, so they cannot clinch this weekend. But there's a very good chance that, on Monday we'll be talking about how the Brewers' magic number is maybe 2 or 3. And then by this point next week, we'll have our first clinch of the 2025 season. The Phillies would be next. They're at 13. Dodgers at 16. The Cubs are at 14 for the wild card there. Padres at 17 and Mets at 18. For the losing magic numbers, the Nationals is down to 5. They're the next team to be eliminated, the 3rd team on the year. Pirates are down to 11, the same with the A's and the Braves. The Twins' magic number down to 12, thanks to the 4-game sweep from the White Sox, kind of dragging them down a little bit. And then the Oilers, their magic number, same as the Miami Marlins, both at 13. Those are the next couple of teams in line here for the losing magic numbers. Which brings us now to the last segment of the episode, and that is our playoff predictor. If the season ended today, who would win it all? In the AL wildcard matchup, the Mariners still holding on to the 6th seed. The Astros still the 3 seed. Red Sox the 5 seed. Yankees are the 4 seed. I kind of hope this stays the same because these 2 wildcard matchups would be phenomenal. Astros would beat the Mariners. Red Sox beat the Yankees. So the ALDS matchup, Astros at Tigers. Red Sox at Blue Jays. Tigers beat the Astros. Red Sox upset the Blue Jays. The ALCS matchup, Red Sox at Tigers. And Detroit heads to the World Series. On the NL side, Mets in the 6th seed taking on the Dodgers in the 3 seed. Padres in the 5 seed taking on the Cubs in the 4 seed. Dodgers beat the Mets. Cubs beat the Padres. So the NLDS matchup has Dodgers versus the Phillies. Cubs at Brewers, the NL Central battle right there. Cubs would beat the Brewers. Phillies handle the Dodgers. So the NLCS matchup, Cubs versus Phillies. And it is the Philadelphia Phillies that move on to the World Series. They go up against the Detroit Tigers, who take it home. They are your 2025 World Series champions if the season ended today, Tarek Skubal would shove and be the World Series MVP. That's the prediction there. And that is our episode here today, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much for tuning on in to another episode. The support means the world. We've been doing very well recently, and I appreciate all the views and feedback we've been getting on the YouTube channel, on Buzzsprout, wherever you listen to the podcast. I appreciate you all. Thank you, buddy, so much, and I will see you on Monday.